If you've ever worked in fundraising, you know that feeling, right? You pour your heart and soul into a proposal, you send it off, and you get back a no. It feels like a dead end. But what if it's not? Today, we're going to break down a really practical guide to turn those rejections into some of your strongest, most successful long-term partnerships. And this, right here, is the absolute heart of the matter. The real failure in fundraising isn't actually getting that no. The real failure is what happens next, just radio silence. It's this thing we could call relational ghosting, and it absolutely kills any shot you have at future success. And that is the exact problem we are going to solve today. So here's our roadmap. It's a clear 5-part journey. We'll start with the annual ask trap. I bet you've seen this one before. Then we'll get into a new mindset before jumping into the actual playbook with the graceful pivot and the 0 ask cycle. And finally, we'll talk about how you level up and truly become a partner. Okay, let's kick things off with the most common mistake in the book. So many organizations get stuck in this cycle of, well, you could call it seasonal desperation. They get a rejection, they vanish for 12 months, and then like clockwork, they pop back up a year later hoping for a different answer. Spoiler alert, this approach just doesn't work. And this is that strategy-killing silence in action, relational ghosting. When you completely disappear after a no and only show your face again when you need something, you're sending a very clear and honestly a very negative message to that potential funder. And this, right here, it just cuts to the chase, doesn't it? Think about it from the funder's perspective. When they only hear from you when you want money, what does that feel like? It feels transactional. You stop being a potential partner in their mission, and you accidentally turn yourself into just another bill that shows up in their inbox waiting to be paid. So it's really crucial to understand why this fails so badly. First, you have 0 momentum. Every single year, you are starting that relationship completely from scratch. Second, it creates what we call the ATM perception. They feel like you just see them as a walking wallet. And third, and this might be the most critical piece, you've offered a total lack of proof. By disappearing, you gave them absolutely no evidence that your project even survived, let alone thrived. You're asking them to invest with 0 new data. Okay, so we've identified the trap. The good news is, the way out of it starts with a really simple but incredibly powerful mental shift. It's all about fundamentally reframing what that no actually means. This right here is the core of the whole new mindset. A no isn't a locked door, it's just a not yet. I mean, it could mean a million things, right? Maybe their funding priorities shifted, or their budget was already set in stone, or maybe they just don't know you well enough yet to take that leap. Looking at it this way isn't just wishful thinking, it's strategy. It keeps the door open for a real conversation and turns a dead end into a long-term opportunity. So you've got this new mindset. What's the very first thing you do when that rejection email hits your inbox? You execute what we're calling the graceful pivot. This single move, this one email, can set you apart from like 95% of other organizations that just quietly walk away. Okay, let's break down why the script is so brilliant. First, it immediately diffuses any weirdness by leading with professional gratitude, not frustration. It also shows you value their work, not just their checkbook. But the magic phrase here is no response needed. That is a genius, low-pressure move that makes it incredibly easy for them to just let you stay in touch. You're signaling that you're a partner focused on the mission, not just a fundraiser focused on the money. All right, you've pivoted gracefully. You kept the door open. Now comes the long game, the 0 ask cycle. This is where you're going to spend the next several months patiently building trust and proving your value, all without asking for a single penny. The strategy here is simple and it is consistent. It follows this nice 9-month rhythm. So after your graceful pivot in month 1, you're going to send a very brief, high-impact update at the 3, 6, and 9-month marks. That's it. No asks, just a quick note showing some progress, sharing a cool success story, or highlighting a key learning. The goal is predictable consistency with absolutely 0 pressure. So what are you really doing with these little updates? Well, you're accomplishing 3 critical things. 1, you prove your project is thriving, which shows you're resilient. 2, you show you're a stable, well-run organization, which lowers the funder's risk. And the ultimate goal, the big prize, you slowly but surely move from their mental stranger list over to their much, much shorter vetted list. And that brings us to the final step, where we elevate the entire relationship. Once you've got this rhythm of communication going, you can move beyond just sending updates and start engaging with them as a true peer, an intellectual partner in your shared field. And look, the difference is night and day. On one hand, you have that low-value, generic comment, great post. It's fine, but it's totally forgettable. On the other hand, you have high-value engagement. This is where you mention a specific detail from their work, connect it to your own experience, and show you're thinking critically about the same problems. This tiny shift changes everything. It positions you as a colleague, not just someone asking for something.
So let's put it all together in a quick playbook. The whole journey starts with that mindset shift. No becomes not yet. You immediately act on that with the graceful pivot to keep the conversation going. Then you build trust with that disciplined 90-day zero-ask update cycle. And finally, you solidify the relationship by engaging intelligently, proving you are a true partner.
And that really leaves us with this one last question to think about. When you reach out to your funders, are you truly building a relationship that adds value for both of you? Or are you just showing up when the payment is due? The answer to that, well, it could change everything.